And coming up next, the mayor of Dallas is leaving the Democratic Party to join Republicans. I'll speak live with the head of the Dallas Democratic Party who will respond to that. Backlash and some pats on the back for the mayor of Dallas, Texas tonight. Eric Johnson announcing that he is switching parties from Democrat to Republican in a Wall Street Journal op-ed. He slammed the party which he was elected by saying, quote, "The future of America's great urban centers depends on the willingness of the nation's mayors to champion law and order and practice fiscal conservatism. Our cities desperately need the genuine commitment to these principles as opposed to the inconsistent poll-driven commitment of many Democrats that has long been a defining characteristic of the GOP." Eric Johnson is blaming Democratic policies for exacerbating, in his words, crime and homelessness. He says that crime and tax policy are the reasons that he's breaking with your party. What's your response to that?
Well, we know that's absolutely untrue. We can see in Democratic cities throughout the country where crime is lower than even in Republican states. And so we cannot allow these false tactics, these fake news, if you will, to be shoved down the throats of the Texans and the voters in Texas.
Well, one of the things that we should note here, just for context, the city of Dallas, he's been leading the city of Dallas for some years now. The murders are down in the city for over 15% over the last 2 years. Rapes are down 40%. Robberies are down nearly 30%. Aggravated assaults have declined 5%. It seems like his approach is working, but his approach actually has been characterized by kind of being at odds with Democrats in the city. So how is he wrong to take a different approach from the party that he has been affiliated with?
Well, things have been working in Dallas, right? Not only these numbers or these metrics, but we have to also include community policing, conversations with our neighbors. We have been doing that type of work. And so to take a pivot right now at this time, we have to ask the critical question, why now? What is it that's on the other end of this that you're not being transparent about with voters?
So you're saying he's taking a pivot, but I guess the point I'm making is that he would say he's been governing from a centrist position.
Sure.
Right? And it's working.
As far as the metrics?
That's what he would say.
I'm sure he would say that.
And you don't think it's working, even though the data seems to show that it might be?
I believe that the data seems to point to that fact. However, if it is working, why now switch teams? That's the question.
He also earlier this year invited Republican Senators Ted Cruz and John Cornyn to his inauguration. Both senators have spoke highly of him. Is there anything wrong with having bipartisan relationships, or do you think that this was a deception to the voters who elected him basically as a progressive, as a Democrat, although in Dallas, there's a technicality. They don't technically have party affiliations,
Sure.
but he was elected as a progressive.
He was elected as a Democrat, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with having bipartisan relationships, being able to get things done across the aisle, specifically in Texas. We know in the Texas House, which he served, Democrats are in the minority, and so there has to be a bipartisan effort and a way to get things done. However, we must be real and transparent about who we are as candidates, who we are as elected officials.
Do you think that he was not transparent?
I do. I do believe that he was not transparent. He was just elected less than 4 months ago, unopposed, actually. And so he ran on Democratic values. I believe the voters trusted him and thought that he would uphold those Democratic values. And now we see a now mayor who's turning Republican, who has turned his back on the very voters who has advanced his political career.
All right, Cordell Coleman, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.